Hey everybody, I wanted to give you an update on what I did this week. Um, like I said I would do, let me flip to a page real quick in my criminal law textbook and find a case brief for you. We'll go to this one, State v. Barger. Find it fitting, it's from the Supreme Court of Oregon, 247 P.3D 309 2011. That is what I would type in online or into one of our legal databases to find this case. Um, so what I do first is I will go over here and I will find the legal issue. That's the question the court is trying to answer. Sometimes they'll identify like a really big, broad question early on, and then as they're going, they'll say, oh, well, to answer this question, we have to answer two more or three more. And so they'll break it down a little bit later on. And what I've got going on with these little underlining parts is usually this early. It's mainly key facts of the case, what's going on, how did this case even get to the court it's in. And as we keep going, I have an additional case question right there, and then the plaintiff's argument right there. So that is going to, or not the plaintiff, that would be the prosecution. The prosecution or the state's argument for why the court should rule a certain way, and all of the underlining after that is going to be like the court's reasoning or what I think their key reasoning is for coming to the conclusion that will be highlighted at the very end of the case. And if I find something that I think is particularly important, I'll kind of write it in the margins right there. Intent to transfer is intimate with control. And I couldn't tell you what that is off the top of my head, but if I go back and read the case in a little bit more detail, I'd probably be able to at least give you a somewhat of an answer as to why I wrote that. So basically this week has been like any other. I turned in my partial brief, which is the first half of our appellate brief. And what that is we were given a Title IX question, like I told you, I believe it was in my last video. And so we had to go through, we found our cases we were going to use for our arguments, and I basically wrote to this fake court why they should rule this fake case in my favor. It's been a lot of fun so far. Like I said, it's Title IX, which a lot of people wouldn't normally associate with being very interesting, but I've found it pretty cool. Then again, the research aspect of it gets a little tedious and a little, it can get a little discouraging when you can't find case law that aligns well enough to yours to where you have to really ask yourself if it's worth using. However, my weekend is what I actually really want to talk about, because the Sports and Entertainment Law Forum, which is the group I am a part of, had our Sports and Entertainment Conference this weekend. And what that was is we had people from all walks of life all across the globe come in and basically talk about their respective fields. So I want to give all of them a shout out real quick. For our music and entertainment panel, we had Guy Blake, Ian Humphrey, and Kevin Mills. That was a really entertaining panel that I didn't necessarily know if I would enjoy, because music and entertainment is not necessarily my kind of deal. And I apologize to anyone's name that I do not pronounce correctly, because this next one, I guarantee I am going to butcher. Tassos Kabruakis, like I said, I apologize terribly. Rudolph Teschler and John Holden, they were our Academia in Sport. That was another very good panel. It was a little bit more about like how gambling and the daily fantasy got into our society and how that's being handled in the law right now. Sports and event management, we had Dave Gallus, Felicia Israel, and Becky Mendoza. Again, very intelligent, very well put together panel that was a lot about not necessarily what's exactly going on with the players or anything like that, but more of what's going on in the broader scheme, like halftime shows, the events going on outside of the arena. It was well put together by all three of them. Our international sports was Marcus Mata, Luis Felipe Gui, I'm sorry, Guimaras Santoro, and Sergio Ventura Engelberg. I believe were all from Brazil, and they had a great deal to do with some of the Brazilian soccer clubs there. Again, especially you three, and Tassos, I apologize profusely. Um, I didn't get to see a whole lot of this one, unfortunately, because I was working the check-in table for that part, but from what I heard, again, very good things to say, and just well thought out. We also had our agency and licensing with Paul Loving, Kyle Thomas, Adam Kelly, and Stephen Jeffrey. This one was pretty interesting just because we got to hear a little bit more about how brands get to be put out there and how they get to interact with different teams and different aspects, and how that all comes back to the law. Our compliance panel was made up of Oliver Luck, Gabe Feldman, Jody Sykes, and AJ Schaffler. Schaffler? Yeah, Schaffler. Um, that was actually pretty eye-opening because normally when I hear compliance, I don't necessarily think of, oh, that would be something I would really want to do, that wouldn't be very fun. These guys made it sound like a lot of fun. Um, I have nothing but respect for Jody Sykes, who's actually working at U of O right now, and has been, I remember correctly, at least the last 10 years. She and AJ actually made university compliance sound like one of the best jobs in the world, and for that, I applaud you. We had our general counsel panel from Maya Mendoza Ekstrom, Douglas Park, Carlos Curi, and Ibrahima Sore. He is one of our international speakers as well. He is from Paris. He has a great deal to do with the French Tennis Federation, and he had many interesting points to talk on, just because he has the international aspect along with being able to coordinate like a French Open tournament, and how all the different aspects of putting something like that together has to relate back to the law. Um, these panelists were the ones I was particularly interested in because this is the kind of work that I ultimately want to end up in. And again, they were brilliant. They had fantastic things to say, and even afterwards, questions that were asked, and they they just gave incredible answers. I couldn't have thought of anything better to do with the last 2 days professionally. We actually even had the chance to get a fishbowl negotiation in with our conference, which was just the way our lovely moderator, Professor Elizabeth Tippett from University of Oregon, put it. Um, we got a director's cut from this negotiation. It was pre-recorded. We had the two negotiators sitting in the room with us, and we got to listen to them break down what they were doing, why was that strategy working, what wasn't working at that point in the negotiation, what is their angle. They did great. The negotiation was really entertaining, and it was just incredible to watch, because no matter what you end up doing in life, negotiating in some aspect is going to be necessary. So being able to hear what they were using at a certain point when they felt like they hit a roadblock or when they felt like something was working and they wanted to push it a little bit further, what they were actually thinking at that point and how they were going to reach that end goal. Um, our moderators were very, very well done because they had experience. First of all, they all had experience doing some sort of interview where it was very conversational. It wasn't the simple Q&A reading off a piece of paper and sounding robotic. It was fluid, it was natural, and like I said, it just felt like a conversation because panelists were jumping in and out of questions. Moderators were asking follow-ups. So our moderators, I want to thank you, Fletcher Johnson, Eric Priest, Roberto De Palma, Baracco, and Travis Teach. I'm sorry, Travis. Um, no, like I said, they did a fabulous job. Couldn't have asked for better. And lastly, and certainly not least, our featured speakers. We had three speakers that we brought in to give special talks about how their aspect of life uh, was regarded to the law, and all three of them did such an amazing job. Um, Rick Burton, he is a professor at Syracuse University for he does sports management, and he has been involved in the Olympic Academy. Um, I mean, he's done so many different things. He was on the Olympic Committee for Beijing. He had so many good things to talk about, and since he is a professor, his way of delivery just really resonated well with everyone there because a lot of us were students. Um, Carl Van Roon, he is a 10-time world champion in martial arts, two-time grand champion, best overall competitor, five-time ITF Taekwondo champion, three-time ITF Taekwondo world champion in traditional, two-time ISKA sport karate champion. Like, this guy's CV is longer than anything I've ever done in my life. He's also he was also in Lord of the Rings, and he did stunts for the Power Rangers. Carl's speech was incredible. It was very not necessarily personal, but it connected with a lot of people on a personal level. So for that, it was very much so a unique perspective that no one else really got at that conference. And finally, our last speaker that we had was none other than two-time World Series champion, seven-time Cy Young winner, Roger Clemens. I need not say anything more because just sitting there while he's talking with us was awe-inspiring. He did he did give us an incredible view behind the curtains of what it's like to be a professional athlete with your agent, with your team, and how all of that relates back into important it is to how important it is to really know what you're trying to get and how you're going to get it, and how all three of those organizations are going to be able to get, or how all three aspects of that are going to be able to get what you actually want within the confines of the law, and how all of that is going to be able to be used to your benefit. So to all of you, I want to say thank you. I'm actually going to be one of the people running that show next year, and I can only hope to do as well as our conference coordinators did this year. They did fantastic jobs. So, Meredith, Matt Greeley, Cullen, Fawn, Scott, Kim, not Kim, Jin. I'm sorry, I got Kim from Jin and Sam. I apologize, you guys. All of you guys did such an amazing job. Um, I I hope I can make you guys proud next year. Um, Again, keep your eyes out for OSEC, Oregon Sports and Entertainment Conference. For anyone who is not at University of Oregon that watches this, I don't know how many that is, but next year is going to be great. I guarantee it.